according to ESPN, 17 teams, that's 17 teams, can make the college football playoff. What will this number be next year when it's 12 with 12 slots in the college football playoff?
I mean, I would assume you go up to 50 teams at that point. If you're doing 17 for 4, you do like 50 for 12, right? Also, because the biggest reason is the 6 automatic conference champions. Okay, like there's like how many teams that can win the American or the Conference USA or whatever? One of those teams is going to the playoff.
No, very good point. All right, so let's take a look at these teams, and you tell me if they're real teams that can make the college football playoff. And we'll start with Ohio State. I'm going to run through the ones that are pretty easy. Ohio State, Georgia, you tell me when to stop. Alabama, I don't know that I like this one right here. So that's hey now. I got 3 right there. And then they've got Texas listed.
That's crazy.
Texas can make the college football playoff?
No. Stop overrating Texas, people. They are not making the playoff. If they win the Big 12 won't have a team in the playoff.
No, I don't see Texas at all. And then you have Michigan. Yes, Michigan, I think that's a big hey now. They can make the college football playoff. Now is where it starts to get a little bit interesting. Southern California. For me, that's a hey now. They could make it. You?
That's an easy hey now. They could. I think they should be favored because they should win the Pac-12.
I'm going to go Clemson next. Clemson is a hey now. For me, because they play in the ACC, which may have about 4 members by the time we get to football season. But yes, they could make the college football playoff.
Yes, they can. Yes, Clemson can make it. And again, similar to the Pac-12, Clemson should make it this year. Honestly.
So maybe this 17 number isn't as stupid as I thought it was. LSU. Hey now. I think they can make the college football playoff.
Yep, they can easily make it.
Okay. Now I'm going to go against the grain a little bit. Notre Dame.
That's crazy.
No. Sorry, don't see it. Marcus Freeman is a player's coach. I think Notre Dame is one of the teams that takes a major dive because I think they played hard for him last year. It was 9-4, and that was the best they could do. And I just am not crazy about this Notre Dame team in general, but I'm not sold on Marcus Freeman as the head coach. I've always got a lot of concern whenever you hear players rejoicing when a coach gets hired, because that means to me that maybe he's a little bit soft. Can Notre Dame make the college football playoff according to you, Caleb Calhoun?
Well, let's analyze this for a minute.
Let's analyze this.
So Notre Dame has to play 3 teams that we already named on the list. This is one of the tougher Notre Dame schedules. They have Ohio State, USC, and Clemson. USC is the week of midterms for Notre Dame. Dave, you and I know how it goes with midterms at Notre Dame. They don't let the players not take part in midterms, so that's a loss right there. Notre Dame still believes an hour in the classroom is more important than an hour in the weight room. Not true. Weight room's more important, but so that's a loss. So then you have to hope that if they lose one game, then they have to hope that they could beat Ohio State and Clemson. Not happening. They're not going to the playoff. Not happening.
Does Notre Dame still get preferential treatment, you think, with the new college football? I say new. It's not that new. But do they get preferential treatment like they used to get because they're Notre Dame? Do they still have that pull, that national appeal? It can't be the same as it was 20, 30 years ago, but it's got something. Where is it? If they were a 10, like if the college football playoff looks at them and it says, man, if you can get Notre Dame in, that's a win. That's a 10. You've got to get them in there if it's close to them and Clemson. But where are they now? Is that a major pull for the college football playoff? Is that a huge get if they make it? I mean, I think it's significant because it's Notre Dame. I don't think it's monstrous.
I mean, it's a pull, but let's talk about media writers' bias real quick. I actually think there's a bias against Notre Dame now, and I'll tell you guys why.
There might be.
You guys, yeah, and here's why. You think about how SEC people feel about Notre Dame. Most of these writers are Midwestern. I can tell you right now, I know this firsthand. As the conference realignment started in the 90s and, the independents started to die off and everybody joined conferences, Miami, Big East, Penn State, Big Ten, all of that, there's a genuine resentment in the Big Ten that among Big Ten fans that Notre Dame still won't join the Big Ten. They feel that Notre Dame gets the hatred for Notre Dame among Big Ten teams far outweighs the hatred for Notre Dame among SEC teams, and most of the writers are Big Ten writers. So, there's a big hatred for them.
Yeah, and then you got Oklahoma.
That's crazy.
I would be
insane. How you feel about Marcus Freeman is how I feel about Brent Venables.
Yeah, the only reason they're on this list to me is because they're a big name and it gets people talking, which is what we're doing. I feel the same way about Penn State because I don't think James Franklin is a closer, but they are on this list. Penn State.
That's crazy.
No, totally disagree with you. Penn State could easily make it because they could, I believe they have Ohio State at home this year. No, they have Michigan at home this year. They're able to win those games when they're at home. And if they go 11-1, they could easily get in as a wild card team easily. So no, I actually think Penn State has, and this might be James Franklin's best team that he's ever had.
Okay. We'll see. Always be closing. And I don't know that James Franklin is a closer. Now, what about Oregon?
Oregon, I would say they can, but they won't. I mean, do you really think Oregon could beat USC for the Pac-12 title?
No. So you convinced me.
That's crazy.
I don't think Oregon. I'm going to say I don't think Oregon can, since that's the parameters that we threw that out there with. And then you have Florida State. I know what you think about Florida State. I don't feel as strongly as you do that they're going to be a complete disaster and let everybody down. But I'll tell you this, I don't think that they're going to win 10 games again this season. So I will go with
that's crazy
for Florida State.
They absolutely will not win 10. Well, no, they might win 10 games this year because I think they have a horrible schedule again. But
because it's the ACC, too.
Yeah, it's the ACC. But they have, let's see, they're playing LSU. By the way, you were off. I had Josh on. I'm setting the line for Florida State Clemson. I'll set it myself, 15.5, and I'll take LSU on the line. I'm sorry, Florida State LSU. That opener, 15.5, and I'm taking LSU to cover.
Okay. All right. I think Utah.
Hey now.
I think they could make the college football playoff. I think they would be a good story. And I think that Utah is knocked on the door long enough. We'll get to Tennessee here in a second. But yes, I think Utah has a lot of respect from the committee. And it wouldn't surprise me at some point in the next 3, 4, 5 years if they made that. Well, I mean, they're going to make it when it expands. But it wouldn't stun me if they made it this year.
Their special teams coordinator and cornerbacks coach's wife is in jail for 5 years for financial fraud, who was on Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. That's going to mess with the players. So
that's not going to mess with the players at all. The players don't even know her. That was
they know her. Okay, she was a big deal on Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, guys.
Yeah, I guess. Well, you got you watch some interesting shows, and then TCU.
That's crazy.
Here's why I'm saying that is because, man, you returned just 11 starters from last year's team. That feels like a rise up 1 year sort of thing for TCU. Max Duggan. I just don't see that there's any way that they make a college football playoff 2 years in a row. Again, they returned just 11 starters from last year's college football playoff team, and gutsy quarterback Max Duggan isn't one of them. So I think he was special. I think he was every bit as special as Hendon Hooker was for Tennessee. I don't see how they possibly make the college football playoff 2 years in a row. You?
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think that was a total fluke last year. They're not getting in.
And then Wisconsin.
That's crazy.
I think Luke Fickell is going to be good. Luke Fickell is going to have success, but Luke Fickell is not going to go from, I think, 7-6 last year to making the college football playoff. I just don't see that.
Hey, Dave.
Mm-hmm.
Let me give you Wisconsin's schedule to start the year.
Oh.
Buffalo, Washington State, Georgia Southern, Purdue, Rutgers, Iowa, Illinois. You don't see 7-0 there? You don't see 7-0 as a possibility?
Yeah, no, I see 7-0.
and then they're 7-0, and then Ohio State comes to town October the 28th.
It's a loss.
You don't think just the momentum of that could give them a fluke win over Ohio State?
No, that's a loss.
I think it's possible. I think
loss.
it's a possible upset win. And Wisconsin goes undefeated, and then they play in the Big Ten title game. And then if they upset Ohio State, they might get lucky and play Penn State in the Big Ten title game. Dave, it's possible. It's possible.
It's a big loss. What's the rest of their schedule? The remainder of their schedule? Who else is on
Indiana,
there?
Northwestern, Nebraska, and Minnesota.
Well, it's a pretty favorable schedule. And lastly, Tennessee, one of the 17 teams as predicted by ESPN that can make the college football playoff. Can they?
Hey now.
Absolutely. I mean, they have to win 2 of the big 3 again. And they did that last year. And then they have to take care of business. At this point, I think they're going to be very similar to where they were last year in that 5 or 6 range, just on the outside looking in. But I haven't released my official prediction yet. But I do think that Tennessee is certainly one of the teams. And if I did a top 8 list instead of 17, Tennessee would be on it. How high would they rank in your eyes?
Okay, top 8. How high would Tennessee rank? So this is tough because we got, I think Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama, and Michigan all have to be ahead of them, right?
Yes.
Okay. I got to put USC ahead of them because USC's in the Pac-12, and I just don't see anybody beating USC in the Pac-12 this year.
So you have Tennessee somewhere along the lines of 5-6 at the end of the year.
Well, I'm going, yeah.
Maybe
and
6,
then
7.
There's Clemson. Now, I'll say this. Y'all know how high I am on LSU, but all things being equal, I might give Tennessee a better chance at the playoff than LSU just because the SEC East is garbage and the SEC West is a grind for LSU. But, we'll have to see.
There's a lot of truth to that. Go ahead and hit that like button, that subscribe button, and turn your notifications on because we'll have a wrap-up of practice over the weekend from Jacob Warren and Cooper Mays. Looking forward to that. And what about teams left off? Are there any teams? I mean, 17 is a lot of teams. Are there any teams left off of this list?
I got 2 from the SEC, and give me your thoughts. Y'all know how low I am on them. I'm not high on them, but I think it's fair to say if it does work out, which I don't expect, Texas A&M would play their way onto the 17 list.
Whoa.
If the Petrino-Fisher thing somehow works out, and it won't, but if it does, they have talent down there. They got a lot of talent.
Okay. If they flip, that's okay. That's a big if. But all right, who else?
And okay, Dave, don't woe me on this. Well, you can woe me if you want. But what do you think of Florida as a dark horse?
Why don't you shut the hell up?
No, I don't think so.
I mean, they play Utah to start. If they play Utah and upset Utah, and then Joe Milton is as every bit as concerning as we thought he was, they get out of September undefeated in a top 10 team at that point.
Well, they're not going to be. They're not going to be Georgia, so there's a surefire loss.
Okay, they may not beat Georgia, but wouldn't 11-1 get you into the race?
Well, yeah,
I think they have a better chance than Florida State. I think they're beating Florida State this year.
Let's put it this way. I wouldn't bet on either one of them to make the college football playoff. Can we agree on that?
I wouldn't either. I'm just saying if Florida State's on the list, Florida should be.
Yeah, people are high on Florida State, and they should be. That's fine. And again, they're going to play in the ACC. I just don't. The biggest factor, let's say Florida and Florida State had the exact same roster, and one has to go through the SEC and one has to go through the ACC.
SEC East, though.
Well, I think the SEC East has gotten significantly better in a short amount of time. Tennessee's better. Georgia's elite. South Carolina, I don't know that they have staying power. They've gotten better. Kentucky will have a bounce back year. They got caught up in the Will Levis tornado last year. Are you healthy? Are you not? And I think that really threw things off in what they wanted to do in Lexington. They're going to find themselves again, and that's running the football. So I don't think the East is nearly as bad as the ACC as a whole.
Well, not as a whole, no, but I was thinking ACC Atlantic, since the Atlantic does have Clemson and Florida State in it. together. But since I think Florida State is overrated, you are generally right. And okay, now coming to my
Generally. Thank you for giving me that.
coming to my mind,
in-
I might come to your side because Florida does play LSU.
You're in the ballpark, right? Is what you just told me. You're in the ballpark, right?
So I will give you now in my head, I'm thinking Florida also has to play LSU. And so having to play LSU, although having to play LSU on the road. Yeah, okay, you might have a point. That's too lost. That's too tough.
I have my moments.